G'day! How's it going? Welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me. As you can see, I'm on a rather large ship here and it's floating. And as I'm sure some of you know very well, the water mod was updated and anything you had before, oh boy. Yeah, let's just have a quick look at that. Yeah, so here we are. I've loaded in my save and yep. Bye-bye, boaty. See you later. That's one boat design that doesn't float there. So I want you to keep the following picture in mind. This is what it looked like before. And after the update, this is what it looked like after. Poor little monitor there is being dragged down by all of this. So that barge is going to need a redesign, and all of these things were using tanks to float them, as I'm sure a lot of our designs were. And that, I guess, brings me to the point of this video. As you know, you've got to now have airtight chambers to make sure your boats, barges, whatever, will float. But that's one thing. Making a ship that can take damage and remain floating is a bit more difficult. And as far as builds go, I've found it to be probably the most complex build process I've undertaken. So what I've done is I've got a couple of ships and I've chopped them in half a couple of different ways for you to get some cross sections. And we're going to have a look at those and, you know, get into the nitty gritty of compartmentalization. So, yep, that happened. They all sunk, and yeah, not much I could do about that, apart from rebuild, and as you can see here, I have been busy doing that, I can tell you. Many hours went into this sucker. Anyway, let's get into some of the finer points of building one of these bad boys for combat out there in the wide blue yonder. Alright, let's get stepping. Up to space. We've got to go up to space because this stuff wasn't going to work in gravity, right? And just wasn't going to work. It sank. Okay, so here we are. Now, this is the big brother to the monitor you saw there. This is probably like more of a destroyer-sized ship. Monitor being, you know, coastal monitor. So this bad boy, she is overgunned, that's for sure. But it's a good start, sort of lay out what I was talking about compartmentalization. Now, if you build a ship, it's just basically a box inside and put a hole in it, well, that box is going to sink. Short order. And that's kind of not the point when you're putting guns on something, is it? So, yeah, put lots of boxes in it. Just put simply. And that's what I've done here. So this is the stern of the ship, and as you can see, every one of these sections is compartmentalized, and it's not cut down the center. This is cut sort of just in from the interior wall on what would be the starboard of the ship, which is the right. Quick tip, if you want to remember your port from starboard, port and left both have 4 letters. There you go. So yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to compartmentalize, and now this one is probably cut up enough, compartmentalized enough, but it's a bit heavy in design, and it was, in my eyes, not a complete success. However, it did follow the basic principles which you should follow, apart from, you know, too much heavy armor on board. Maybe too many guns. You want to have these areas, even in like your section side areas, you need to section them again. Now, Watermod says that it does have light blocks floating, and one light block can carry 3 others, I believe, above the water, or something like that. Or carry 1 other. Yeah, no, 1 light block can carry another block, can float it, but 1 block of air, so 1 enclosed block space, although there's a caveat to that, and I'll get to that in a bit, can carry 3. Now, the caveat to that is that you have to have air vents, even if they're not connected. It's part of the calculation process for the game, and currently, until the mod designer figures out a workaround, that's part of the mod. And I guess that's alright, you know, I mean, it's not that many more blocks on a small ship. So while I've got this angle here, if you look just behind that gun casing at the rear of it, you'll see that there are two different types of blocks between the missile launcher and the gun case, and then the gun's body. The outer skin and the inner skin of this ship are different. The inner skin is light armor, and that's simply done to try to make this thing float. If you build a full heavy armor ship, you're going to have some problems floating it, at least at this scale. Now, I think it's probably important to stress that there is some very simple maths behind this. Basically, when you increase the length of a three-dimensional object, say a cube, you get a multiplying effect such that the volume of the same square that you've just increased the length of goes up by the power of 3. So bigger ships are going to be able to float a lot better and carry a lot more armor. They will have a lot more buoyancy. Let's go have a look at one of them. Right, so a big ship, and this is probably getting into the realm of battleship styles here. A lot of guns. Could have actually fit more on her, but you begin to run out of space, or just logical placings, not so much space. There's a lot of real estate on a ship like this. It's very big, as you can see. All compartmentalized, and with bulkheads and doors throughout. Another quick tip: make sure you set up a double timer door closing system, and that's pretty simple. You just have to have one timer on a short count, triggering a second timer which closes all your doors and then triggers the timer. So as you can see, all compartmentalized, lots of spaces, and this allowed it to carry a lot more armor. I was actually quite impressed by the design and how much damage it would take before it did sink in testing. Now, you can see on the side there that I've got 3 layers running into an interior which is again, it's split up between heavy armor exterior, light armor interior where I don't need to have protection, and blast door blocks where I do need to have protection. Yeah, this bad boy is piped up, and that runs all the way down. As you can see, it's piped 3, like there's lots of pipes running down the vehicle to allow for survivability. Even if certain sections of pipe are broken, you can still provide ammunition from your magazines to your guns. Lots of gyros, and I actually for some reason don't have a lot of the gyros on this blueprint in the bottom, but again, the sides of this area should have gyros all the way up. I'm not sure what happened there. You can see down here that I have got the gyros in there, and you want to make sure all that stuff is down low to keep that weight down low. You build a ship with a center of gravity that's too high, and it's going to be quickly capsizing in combat if it manages to stay stable while you move it around. Anyway, so here we have the magazines of the ship, and again, they have another layer of redundant heavy armor around them, but still susceptible to splash damage once you've breached all the way into the ship. Although I have to say, if you've managed to breach all the way into this ship, you're doing pretty bloody well. It would be fairly difficult, although it may, to bury into that even with the 500s, it's going to take a couple of minutes at the very least. There's a lot of armor between that and the direction that a floating ship would be in. And there is another principle of building naval ships. You're probably, maybe, I don't know, it is space engineers, going to be mostly taking the damage from that sort of, from the horizon up to, 30, 40 degrees. You may not need massive amounts of heavy armor. You're probably not going to need very much armor directly underneath. Although, with subs around and stuff like that, who knows? Especially considering that, you can shoot a cannon underwater with no worries in Space Engineers. So, I guess the final thing I really have to convey right now is how I managed to build this thing in some sort of logical fashion. Well, I'm sort of pointing out something now that may give it away. And if you haven't guessed already, that's right, I merged some stuff. In fact, what I did was I built 2 of the chambers first. So I built like this section here, and then built this section here, and then realized I was being dumb, so I merged those 2 sections onto this section. Seemed like the smart thing to do, right? You might say, yeah, sure, but how did you start, mate? Well, that is pretty simple in itself. I basically laid out that sort of layout that you can see there from the cross section, 1 block thick. And once I was happy with that, I kind of just ran off 10 blocks from that and chucked down another bunch of walls. It's pretty systematic in that way, and that's how I'd recommend you do it. It's one of these things, like a lot of people recommend building from the bottom up, and I am going to disagree with that in naval circumstances. I don't think that that's going to be effective or easy to do. You've got to keep a different layout going in your head. If you look at the way that modern ships are built, it's really done in that sort of, bow to stern, modular section setup. And that's probably a good way to sort of wrap your head around it, because that allows you to sort of get the body of the ship down and then come up and sort of figure out exactly how that stern is going to work and that bow. And as you can see, it can come out with some nice results. I've been really happy with this. Wish my computer was a little faster, to be honest. That'd be nice. And I'll be able to have a more effective flight of, this kind of size ship. But, is what it is. Anyway, let's go check out this bad boy sinking eventually. All right, so I've set this up so it's fighting itself, although it's not going to be facing the missile complement of the opponent's ship. I don't know. It may matter or may not. We'll come back to that. As you can see, it's running defense shields. Got north wind there, and those brilliant cannons. Mex Pex homing, and other miscellaneous stuff. If I've missed you out there, I'm incredibly sorry. It's quite late in the evening. So I'm going to let this play out for you for a bit, and then we'll come back nearer to the end and discuss what happened. So you can see I've started to take a bit of water on board now. The nose is under the surface, and a lot of the starboard side there is beginning to get really close and may even be touching on the gunnel, which is the sort of top side edge of the hull there. But the ships do fight on for quite a bit longer, and that's you know, especially like if we're going to do this kind of thing in Battletop, we're going to probably have to call it at some point. You know, if you've sunk, then you're done. Stop shooting, kind of thing, because the guns will keep shooting until they are destroyed or run out of ammunition. Now here's the one that was sitting in the bay, and yeah, I think that is a fairly sunk ship. I think that's the kind of point where you'd call it. You can see there is holes pretty well through to the center there, and that was at the midship and at the bow. She's pretty well buggered. She's going down. Not without taking the other ship with it. You can see it is listing very hard now, and most of the bow is underwater. Anyway, I'll cut this off because it'll keep going until there's no blocks left, and yeah, we've all got better things to do, like build ships of our own and shoot those. And so that's all I've really got to cover right now, although if you want to sort of have a video about how I go about building these very large compartmentalized ships, I'd be happy to put that video together, like in particular I mean the build process, because it's a lot of work just to try to do this if you're building block by block or whatever, but I think there are maybe a slightly better way to do it, similar to the way that shipbuilders do build modern ships. So yeah, check that out if you're keen, and let me know if you want me to make a video on it, and I'll show you that. Happy to put that together and share that goodness. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Be well out there, fly safe, don't let the reavers get ya.